If you're receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. Andrew Demeter reporting on behalf of Infowars.com. Imagine a nuclear holocaust, similar to the one South Korea is currently conjuring with their alleged militaristic swagger. At the thoughtless press of a single button, humanity would plunge into deeper depths than being entirely wiped off the face of the earth. We would face conditions akin to the Stone Age: no supermarkets, famine, no hardware stores, unsustainability, and no shopping malls, no cushion of consumerism. The necessities of life would vanish right before our very eyes in a competitive stampede for limited resources. This scenario, however, would evolve much differently than those who may have faced a similar plague during the Stone Age era. Modern survivors would be incapable of differentiating between edible and inedible foods, how to stalk, kill, dress, and preserve game, and how to construct tools from their surrounding environment. So why aren't children still taught these valuable skills of our ancestors? Let me explain. At one's peak of curiosity or early childhood, the state is concerned about children learning the primary colors, how to tell time, and how to count, add, and subtract. But if you missed a day of these routine trivialities, would you never learn these concepts? Truth be told, you would inevitably learn these ideas through real-world experiences of human interaction and question. This irrelevant material that children passively consume indeed performs the inverse intent of education. It poorly prepares children for a successful and fulfilling life in the cultural matrix where, in realistic terms, the material is rendered useless. On a lighter note, though, what does the schooling system do excellently well? As exemplified throughout the Great Depression, it suspends the youth's participation in the job market. If kids aren't in school, their mommy and daddy can't work. During this slump of fiscal ends, the state mandated that a 12th grade education, opposed to the previously adequate 6th grade education, was intrinsic for every citizen, for the very reason of keeping youngsters out of the market. With a foreboding and rocky economic future looming at the conclusion of World War II, it was deemed that an education should also include 4 years of college. As the market was incrementally revived, 4 years of college would be beneficial, but wasn't a necessary component. To fill up time, arbitrary material was augmented to the unilateral doctrines of education, the only criteria being that it would possess a marginally plausible use down the road. As the donkeys and elephants in DC plotted on behalf of their own interests, retention of the monotonously orated concepts wasn't necessary. Gibberish flew in one ear and out the other. Due to the soul saturation of useless content, graduates were, and still are, virtually unemployable, consequencing from the lack of bare-bones skills pertaining to their specific career path. These euphemistic entry-level workers automatically assume the lowest possible rung of the meticulously crafted employment ladder. Before we delve deeper, let's zero in on an aborigine in relation to the stereotypical Western world student. By the time an American student graduates elementary school, our hypothetical aborigine will have also graduated, meaning their survival value is 100%. If their elders were kidnapped overnight, these children could survive independently. In the Western world, though, the last thing the 1% wants is for children to live independently. A 100% survival value would allow graduates to voluntarily opt out of the strategically structured social and economic stratification compulsively imposed upon them, either choosing college or choosing a career, and dare I say, having freedom. Instead, a graduate is awarded with an illusory fool's gold diploma, constituting no skills, no survival value, and no choice other than to work or starve. A misconstrued cultural myth is that children hate learning and they won't learn unless coerced into doing so. Actually, cultures have voluntarily evolved over thousands of years through learned and developed behaviors. The thirst for knowledge is hardwired into human instinct. If a mute child resides in a multilingual family, they will inevitably learn to communicate. Once the child unearths the possibilities of speech, they will tirelessly question anything and everything to the extent of parental frustration. The child's insatiable curiosity even prompts parents to place breakables out of their reach. So how does one evade the dumbing injection of the brain that is the schooling complex? Unschooling, otherwise respected as homeschooling or independent education. The philosophy is often immediately rejected en masse due to misconceptions that if the child learns what they want when they want, they must not learn, or there exists no universalization of thought, or there's no geometry, no dissections. Psychologically, all people of every age remember things that are important to them. While astrophysics, aeronautics, and particle physics sound nifty, they're unfeasibly crammed into the K-12 curriculum where most students can't establish a relatable connection. They don't genuinely comprehend these concepts. But it doesn't concern the plutocratic 1% that 90% of students don't retain the information that's shoved down their throats. What does matter to the plutocratic 1% is that the 90% passively fulfill and accept the antagonizing systematic motion dubbed school to one day transform themselves into nothing more than obedient workers. Ladies and gentlemen, schools aren't failing, they're actually succeeding, just in ways our blissful ignorance prefers not to see. Reporting on behalf of Press for Truth and Infowars.com, correspondent Andrew Demeter, signing out.